Because when it is not clear how government supports private companies, because any government, any serious government, there's a place to shoulder the burden of private entities. Went through COVID and so on, some companies have never recovered. And so the justification being some companies employ hundreds of young people, so you don't want them to close. But if you are to bail them out, there must be a clear modus operandi. This is something we have raised separately. Can there be a clear guideline so that any private investor out there who is struggling to keep their head above the water, who has got bank loans or who is crumbling in one way or another, they know that this is how I apply to get a government bailout. But now it's not clear. So it is friends, relatives, in-laws, outlaws that have access to this money. So if you don't have a powerful friend in government who will hold your hand and take you to receive money, you don't get to be supported. This is wrong. It's a form of corruption. And also that this money gets to be properly accounted for. Because all the places we have been to so far, and we are going to several others this year, but those we have gone to so far, you don't see accountability of this money. We visited a Chiak sugar factory in Amuru district. This factory has so far been given 553 billion shillings, taxpayers' money, to produce sugar. The last time we were there, last year, there was no sugar being produced. As we speak today, there's still no sugar being produced. So you give them money without clear guidelines, without a clear understanding, but even the money cannot be accounted for. We went today Biopharma. These have been given so far 723 billion shillings to produce vaccines, medicine, and so on. When we went there, they told us that by the end of October they will be producing medicine. We are now in 2025. There's no medicine being produced from there. And these are people who were given money without even clear terms of reference. These companies are not even valued first. Because it's important that you first value. If you're saying you're going to buy a stake in a company, what's the worth of this company? They don't do that. They just dole out money. And then the money is not accounted for. There is no value for this money. We visited Rocco. These ones did not even allow us access. They've been given 263 billion shillings so far. They're the guys who are meant to build the chambers of parliament. And to date, parliamentary chambers are incomplete. Meanwhile, parliament spends billions of shillings to rent office space for MPs, staff, and so on and so forth. We visited recently Inspire Africa Coffee Factory in Mpuuga. That's also been supported with billions of taxpayers' money to build a coffee factory. Again, the last we were there was no understanding between the factory and government. So we're saying, under what arrangement did you give these people money? Are you buying stake in the company? Are you lending them so that they will pay back? Are you just giving free money and that kind of thing? And also questions about why the company in Mpuuga. Now the proprietor of the company has the right to put it wherever they want, but government, are you putting your money where your mouth is? And so on and so forth, among many other cases. Some places that we shall be going to again this year. So we still demand that the billions given to these private entities are accounted for. And we still insist in government, there must be mechanisms of bailing out companies. There must be a clear modus operandi so that anybody knows, even I can apply, and not just a few who are connected. In carrying out our oversight activities, we visited the Lubowa hospital site, on which the taxpayer has so far spent over 600 billion shillings on that Lubowa construction site. At the time, there was nothing going on at the site. No wonder we were denied access, as you remember. I'm told that as a result of the noise we have continuously made about Lubowa hospital, some construction work is now happening there. What's for sure is that whenever the construction we hear is going on gets done, we shall seek to establish whether what was constructed is worth over 600 billion shillings that the taxpayer has injected into this problematic project. That's important. So they might say, now that these people are making so much noise about it, let's put up some kind of structure. We shall seek to understand what is the worth of that structure. Is there value for these taxpayers' money? We have put the government on the spot regarding the trillions of shillings lost to corruption annually, and we are not going to stop. shall not stop. In this fight against corruption, we are able to draw attention to Parliament as well, because we must begin the fight against corruption in our backyard, here. So as we expose corruption in State House, in ministries, and the different government entities, we shall also keep pushing for the cleaning up of Parliament where we work, because this is our turf, this is our backyard. And in this new year, we are simply going to engage a higher gear, the fight against corruption, as you will see. I've heard people say that the current Parliament has got incompetent MPs. I actually disagree. The major issue, as far as I'm concerned, in this legislature of ours is lack of integrity. People are competent, they know what to do. Whether it be among new MPs or the seniors. It's not incompetence. No, we know what to do. As legislators, when we are voted by our people, we know the issues that concern our people, and we can be able to voice them. But that does not happen many times. Why? Because integrity is the issue. We fear to step on some toes. We fear to annoy some people. You hear MPs saying, for me, I was told if I insist on these issues of corruption and so on, they are going to bring an opponent against me and fund that opponent heavily. Others are told, look, we shall not fund you for your election. Or if you keep quiet about these things, maybe we shall fund you, or make sure you get declared, regardless. And so that is the issue that is happening in this Parliament. Because MPs are well educated and exposed, but the lack of integrity is what happens. And just to clearly paint you a picture, out of all the 557 members of Parliament that we have in this House, including the ex-officials, at least 18 of them, 18 of us as MPs, have got PhDs. 18. 231 members of Parliament have got master's degrees. 251 members of Parliament have got bachelor's degrees. I know this information will shock some of you. 37 have diplomas. Only 16 possess just the minimum qualification of USCE Senior 6. Only 16. And only 4 possess certificates that are equivalent to USCE. Only 16 have Senior 6 certificate, which is the requirement in the law to be an MP. And only 4 possess the equivalent. Those who have studied wherever and so on, then you come and it is equated. So how do you say that MPs are incompetent or shallow? Because I hear that a lot from analysts. It's Parliament, MPs are incompetent and so on. No, I don't agree. I think what we lack here is integrity. Because MPs are educated, exposed, they know what to do. And by the way, it's not just this Parliament. You remember that MPs were given 5 million shillings to remove term limits in 2005. These were educated people. They knew what to do. They knew that term limits are good for the country. So did they remove term limits because they were incompetent? No, but because they were bribed. In the last Parliament, the 10th Parliament, MPs were given 29 million shillings to remove presidential age limit. Did they not know that this wasn't good for the country? Did they not hear the voices of their people? So did they do this out of incompetence? No. So even in this Parliament, the 11th Parliament, you've heard the stories, 40 million shillings, 50 million shillings, and the like, even to members of Parliament. You saw Honorable Twaha Kagabo running around up and down. When we caught him red-handed, we said, you have got to return that money. Put it in the bag, ran with it, then he came back and told us, but now, those who gave it to me have said, we gave it to you, we no longer need it, take it back, whatever. So he was pacing up and down the corridors of Parliament, the stairs of Parliament. This is somebody, I hear he calls himself a doctor. I don't know whether he's a qualified doctor, but it looks like he's gone to school. So he's competent, he knows what to do. And others, but lack of integrity. Money that is exchanging hands in this Parliament is the biggest problem that we have. So people should stop using the excuse of this Parliament, MPs are incompetent, whatever the case might be. No, what we need to work on is the integrity question. No wonder an MP can sign a motion targeting corrupt leaders in this house, then pretend that they were hoodwinked into signing that motion. It's a clear sign of lack of integrity. Because this MP falls among one of these. Either she has senior 6 or equivalent or something, meaning she can read. So why would you lie that you read and you knew what you were signing, but now you're saying, I was hoodwinked, a member of parliament? It's a question of lack of integrity that has got to be dealt with. We have and shall continue to use the platform that we have to demand for proper service delivery through efficacious use of taxpayers' money and the respect for human rights. Government, through its security entities, continues to violate the rights of citizens. Many have been killed, others abducted, many are in jail simply because of their political beliefs, while others have been tortured. We shall keep pushing back against all this injustice. And by the way, as we have said to those who care to listen, this is not just a question of those in the opposition. There are no survivors in a sinking boat. It is happening to colleagues in the NRM too. You saw one of our colleagues, Honorable Paul Akamba, who was granted bail and he was rearrested within the precincts of Parliament, of court. So don't think that because you belong to the NRM, you are safe from injustice. No. This brutality will come your way if we all don't collectively say no. You hear the talk of deny them bail, deny them police bond and that kind of thing, and I've seen some fellows within the ruling party saying yes, it should be denied. That fellow does not know that tomorrow they will be the one needing bail for one reason or another. So we need to think as critically as we possibly can. As we use the platform, we have to fight these injustices. We call upon Ugandans to join the fight against bad governance and injustice because all of us are potential victims. We are glad to see young people and civil society activists who have joined the fight against corruption. We saw them protesting about corruption here at Parliament. That was a good sign that we together can stand against corruption and all other forms of injustice. May God help us to take this a notch higher in this year. The second year of our mandate is going to be an opportunity for us to do even more in executing our mandate of keeping the government in check, still pursuing the key priorities, the 3 key priorities: fighting corruption, poor service delivery, and human rights violations. So we shall continue to shake those tables, regardless whose drinks are on those tables. I thank you. Maybe I'll quickly translate that into episode. Namala omwaka kifo kyendimu nga akulira oludda oluvuganya gavumenti of opposition ne bannange tukolagana nabo national cabinet. Twebaza Katonda byatusobozesezza okukola tuyise mu buwonvu n'obugga okutuuka wano wetuli, naye ate nga wetuli mu maanyi olw'ekisa kya Katonda. Twali bakugerako eggwanga ku nsonga zino ku lunaku olw'ennyini, naye ate olunaku olw'ennyini munaffe Honorable Ssenyonyi bwe yatufaako kitalo ddala twongera okusaasira eggwanga, kubanga Ssenyonyi yali wa ggwanga lyonna. Kyannaku yatugendako kikyali kizibu era kibeera kizibu okuzzaawo omuntu bwatyo, naye katusabe Katonda atuyambe. Ng'ennaku z'omwezi 9 January 2024 nga ntwala obuvunaanyizibwa buno bwendimu, najjukiza Parliament obuvunaanyizibwa bwenina okulondoola emirimu gya gavumenti. Kiri mu ssemateeka, kiri mu rules of procedure zaffe okulondoola gavumenti, kugiteekako akazito ku nsonga ez'enjawulo, mu luzungu keeping the government in check. Kati omwaka guwese nga tulondoola gavumenti byekola oba byerina okukola eri bannansi. Omwaka gubadde mukambwe, nindeebaza Katonda nti nange ndi musajja mukambwe ne bannange tukolagana nabo, era twalwanira ddala kuviira ddala mu ntandikwa abantu bangi bazze bagezaako tulemesa ne mu kizimbe kino okutuukiriza obuvunaanyizibwa bwaffe naye tulemerako. Nayingira ofiisi ne bantegeeza nti kakati contracts z'abakozi mu ofiisi ya police analyst nakiziweddewo ate tetugenda kuziiza bujja. Neŋŋamba lwaki mukikoze nga nze nnyingiddewo kubanga ofiisi eno ebadde ne baliibwa z'opposition bangi bayitirivu ebbanga lino lyonna. Lwaki kikyuka nga Ssenyonyi yayingidde ofiisi? Naye tukosi bakikola okugezaako okunnafuya ne bannange niŋŋamba sijja kunafuwa, nja kukola emirimu gye nnina okukola. Twatandika okulondoola emirimu gya gavumenti, twatandikira wansi wali e Kampala lw'enguudo embi nga tugamba nedda ensonga eno twetaaga ogikuba mu ttooki. Abannakampala beemulugunya enguudo mbi nnyo. Tusaba emmotoka za palamenti bazituwa zi coasters, twatuukayo nazo essimu n'ekubibwa. Lwaki mwabawadde emmotoka ezo ziveeyo? Ne bantegeeza nti emmotoka bagambe muyingire emmotoka muddeyo ku palamenti. Ninga ntoze kukola mirimu gyaffe. Gyoba temuyingira emmotoka zijja kuvaayo zokka, ninga kale muzitwale. Ne twefunira ze twefunira awo takisi twapakisa. Kugamba olaba n'obuntu obutono bannaffe embeera gye batuukamu. Ensonga ya commission meetings tuze tuzoogerako kubanga nze nga full member wa commission yeteeka bwe tugamba situlangako mu meeting ya commission. Banneesamba kubanga ebintu byebakola mu commission meetings ezo, okwegabira service award, okuyisa zidiiru ezitategeerekeka, mbiwakanya nze mbyogerako nga mbyanika. Kati bagamba ono bw'anaatula mu zi meeting zaffe ajja tulemesa. Kyemulugunyaako era nkyakyogerako. Olunaku lw'eggulo wabaddewo commission meeting ate. Commission esinkana legal committee ensonga za budget ya parliamentary commission. Nibe tebantegeezezza kubanga bamanyi nti ebintu ebimu ngenda gamba kino nedda kino kikyamu. Bandikidde speaker makya ga leero nga nziremu okumujjukiza. Ayinza okuba yeerabira, agenda neerabira nti ndi full member wa parliamentary commission. Nga mujjukiza nti ndi member wa commission. Era nga mubuuza lwaki siyitibwa meeting za commission. Kiki kye bagezaako okukweka? Biki bye bayisa omu bidiirudiiru ki bye bagezaako okukweka nime kubimanya. Bwe neemulugunya ebbanga eryayita ne bagamba kale katumuyiteyokko. Bampandikira ebbaluwa ng'empita naye era bakikola kigendere kubanga mu kaseera ako nali siri mu kibuga. Ku mirimu emitongole mutera otulaba tuli eyo, kati tuli mu mambuka, tuliwa. Era nga sipiika akimanyako buli bwe tufuluma okugenda okukola emirimu gyaffe. So nga akimanyi nti nali mu field nga 3 December meeting lwe yayitibwa. Ebyembi ebbaluwa eyo bagireeta nga 2 December olw'eggulo mu ofiisi yange wano nga bampita okujja mu meeting enkeera ku makya ate nga bakimanyi mu kibuga siriimu tugenze ku mirimu emitongole ne bannanga bamu. Ate ekiralo ky'obuswavu kye baakola mu bbaluwa eyo kubangirina wano bagibackdatinga bakuutizakuutiza baluwa gye bawandiika nga 2 December ate bo bateekawo nti bagiwandiise nga 26 November 2024 okulaga nti meeting bagiyita bukyali. Kugamba olaba ebintu eby'obuswavu ebyokukuutizakuutiza ebyokujingirira kubanga oba ogiwandiise nga 26 November 2024 lwaki ogireeta mu ofiisi yange nga 2 December ng'ate meeting yankeera ku makya ate ng'okimanyi ne mu kibuga siriimu nafulumye ne bannange ogenda okukola emirimu egy'enjawulo. Kugamba olabira ddala ebintu eby'ekiyaayi kambiyite bwentyo kubanga bwekitwe kiri. Naye ensonga zo tujja sirika kuzoogerako. Tuwagala bannaffe abantu bangi bagezezaako okulemesa obuvunaanyizibwa bwaffe nga mwe muli ne bannaffe abamu mu opposition nga muze mbalaba. Naye nebaza Katonda nti nga ttiimu tubadde banyweru n'obuvumu okulaba nti tutuukiriza obuvunaanyizibwa bwaffe mu mwaka guno ogumu era batuwuliddemukko. Ate ne guno gwe tutandise bagenda tuwulira ddala. Nayigira ofiisi eno nze ne bannange ne twanjula ensonga 3 ze twali tugenda okuteekako essira. Ensonga ez'essimba, okulwanyisa obuli bw'enguzi, obuweereza obutali butuufu, poor service delivery, n'okutyoboola eddembe ly'abannansi, human rights violation. Ez'essatu era tukyaziremeddeko paka kubanga izo ffe tulaba nti bannayuganda zesinga okubabonyaabonya ssente zaabwe zibbibwa obutabalika 10 buli mwaka, ezirina okuzimba enguudo, ezirina okuteeka eddagala mu malwaliro n'ebirala. Tebafuna buweereza nga bwe kinakubeera saaviisi eri babiri. Ettembe ly'abannansi lityoboolebwa, bawambibwa ne basibwa ku bisanga ebijwetekere. Mbawulira kati bagamba nti nebbeeyo baagala kugijjawo, poliisi bondi baagala gijjawo, ate n'olaba n'aba NRM bako mu ngalo nti bakole ekyo, tebamanyi nti nabo kijja batuukako. Batuuke ekiseera nga nabo beetaaga bbeera eyo, naye ate nga baagirwanyisa, balowooza nti kaakati kino kikosa ffe ffekka ab'opposition. Ebintu bino tulina okubirwanyisa era nga tukyabiriko. Nga ttiimu tufulumiza ne tuyita alternative ministerial policy statements nga tuwa eri eggwanga ffe kyetulaba nti kino kyekituufu ekirina okukolebwa. Waawo tulina okuwabula gavumenti newankubadde gye tuwabula ya mutwe munene tewuliriza, ne tugamba nti kino kyekituufu ekirina okukolebwa. Ne tufulumya budget kyetwayita alternative budget eyaffe, tugamba nti kati eno budget y'abannansi, ssente tuzitemeeteme bwe tuti ku nsonga ez'obuweereza, ebyobulamu, tukole ku nguudo, amasomero gali bubi, obuweereza general obw'abannansi. Katugamba awo tulina okuteekesera naye bannaffe olw'okubanga balina ennamba ne bagamba ebintu tujja bigoberera. Ne tugamba nti kale newankubadde mwe mulina ennamba naye eddoboozi lyaffe lirina okuvaayo ate mu ngeri ey'omwanguka. Ne bannayuganda ne bakitegeera nti kaakati newankubadde bano si be bali muyinza, kino kye baalikoze era kyekituufu ekirina okukolebwa. Era ezo tujja sigala nga tukikola. Abamu bagenda ne balowooza naye mukola byaki ate nga tebabikkiriza. Twagala bibeere ku rekodi, bannayuganda balabe ekyenjawulo nti bwageraageranya n'atunuulira bano kye bakola naffe kitwalikoze, ngaalabira ddala nti waliwo enjawulo. Era tuzze tukuba tooki ku ngeri gavumenti gyezeegabamu ssente y'omuwoomusolo ku bitongole eby'obwannannyini mu bumenyi bw'amateeka, kubanga tewali mutendera gwe bagoberera okugaba ssente z'omuwoomusolo zino zebagenda ne bawa eno n'eno n'eno, okulaba nti munnansi yenna alina bizinesi awa bannayuganda emirimu, naye bw'aba afunye obuzibu alina zirooni naki asobola okuwandiika application. Naye kati kikolebwa obeerayo n'akukwata ku mukono oba n'omuwayo k'omuwadde n'akutwala mu banene ne bakuwa ssente y'omuwoomusolo. Kikyamu obubbi, corruption. Tugenze mu bitongole bino ebyenjawulo, twagenda Atya Sugar Factory mu Mambuka Amuru, bano baakaweebwa obuwumbi 553. Ne kaakati teri sukaali avaayo. Kitongole baakiwa sukaali, baakiwa ssente okukola sukaali, teri sukaali avaayo, ate nga ssente y'omuwoomusolo yabaweebwa empitirivu. Twagenda ku Day Biopharma, bano abatusuubiza eddagala, vaccines n'ebirala, baakaweebwa obuwumbi 723. Bwe twaliyo mu October batugamba nti October wenaggwirako bajja kuba bafulumya eddagala, katuyingire n'omwaka omupya teri ddagala livaayo, ate nga baaweebwa obutitimbe n'obutitimbe bwa ssente z'omuwoomusolo. Twagenda ku lwoko abako tebaatukkiriza na kuyingira, baakaweebwa obuwumbi 263. Abo balina n'okuzimba parliamentary chambers ezaali zirina okuggwa emyaka egyayita, naye ne kaakati obeera oli awo owulira bakoonakoona teri kigenda maaso. Owulira gya Ssenyonyi ezikoona naye ne weebuuza kyekigenda materi. Ate nga paalamenti esaasaanya obuwumbi n'obuwumbi okupangisa ebizimbe bitwetoolodde ofiisi z'ababaka, basitaafu n'abalala. Omuntu ayinza n'okulowooza nti oba waliwo ekkobaane bannyini bizimbe bano kubanga baagala ofuna akasente, basigale kubanga ekizimbe kino bwe kinaggwa baba tebakyafuna kasente. Kati oyinza kibuusa maaso ekyo nti wayinza okuba waliwo ekkobaane. Biri awo byonna tibitegeerekeka ebintu bino. Twagenda ku Inspire Africa Coffee Entungamo, eyo naye yakaweebwa obuwumbi, ekyuma kisengejja kaawo n'ebirala. Fuusi twasooka okwebuuza gavumenti abantu bano mubawadde ssente ku ddiiru ki? Muguze mugabo, mubawoze nti banaazizza, tiwaliwo ndagaano nga n'ebitongole bino ebirala byonna byonna, kati biri clear. Temukoze assessment bulungi. Yabaffe bw'oba wakuzimba kyuma kya mwanyi okiteeka Ntungamo, kubanga mu NDP 3 National Development Plan 3 gavumenti yakiteekamu tibagenda kuzimba factory 2 ezakaawa wano mu Buganda ne mu Eastern Uganda kubanga ebugiseeyo balima nnyo emmwanyi kirimu NDP3 kati juzi bayisizza NDP4 naye nga ne bwe bakola luli tebabiteeka mu nkola lwaki kugamba olaba okwebuzaabuza kungi yes nannyini factory ye ayinza okugamba nti kagiteeka ewenjagala tewali buzitoyiza munenya naye gavumenti bw'ogamba nti ogenda kuteeka omukono mu nsonga yonna ogoberedde emitendera ki nga nekiwasuubiza tukikoze mu kulondoola emirimu gya gavumenti twagenda ku Lubowa hospital era mwalaba ne batugana n'okuyingira kuba teri kyali kigenda mu maaso awo bakaweebwa obuwumbi 600 okuzimba eddwaliro bantegeezaako nti olw'okubanga tuzze tulemera ku nsonga eno eya Lubowa hospital kati batandise okuteekayo ekizimba ezimba awo bazimba ku speed tugamba kale katulindirire oba nakimalire ekyo kibali mu kuzimba olw'okubanga tulemedde ku nsonga eno tujja kuddayo tulondoole ekizimba ekyo mutaddeyo kidda ku ssente zino obuwumbi 600 era kye mwali mulina okukola oba mukikoze muteekeyoko ekizimba ezimba awo okukakkanya amaloboozi gaffe tegagenda kukakkana tukyalemerako tutadde gavumenti kuninga ku lw'obutabalifu obubbibwa buli mwaka trillioni 10 ezibbibwa era nga tetugenda kusirika ku nsonga zino okulwanyisa obuli bw'enguzi twasobola okuba tooki ne wano mu paalamenti wano kubanga abamu bagenda ne balowooza Ssenyonyi lwaki temukola mirimu gyammwe mulemere ku gavumenti state house naki nga bwe tulemera ku state house cabinet ministries ebitongole bya gavumenti ebirala ne wano nawo tulina okubawo tooki ku paalamenti kubanga we tukolera tuyinza tandikira wala nga tunnatandikirawo wano ewaffe so kyali kitukakatako okuba tooki ku bubbi obuli wano mu paalamenti yaffe ate guno omwaka guno giya tugenda gyongezamu bwongeza waliwo abalowooza nti byaggwa tebinaggwa era bingi netukyajjayo mpulira abantu bangi nga bagamba nti paalamenti yaffe eno ababaka bakiboggwe mawulira nnyo eyo ba analysts abasusula ensonga ababaka bakiboggwe ekintu ekyo nze nno sikkaanya nakyo ababaka si bakiboggwe naye si bamalirivu si beesimbu obwesimbu kye tutalina wano mu paalamenti yaffe kubanga abantu baatulonda nga tumanye ensonga zaabwe tujje tuzoogereko tulwanyise enguzi n'ebibaluma ye tutuuke eno ne tusirika era batuwaddeyo akasente oba batutiisizatiisiza ababaka bangi babatiisatiisa wano oba onoolemera ku nsonga zino ez'obuli bw'enguzi naki tujja kuteekako kandideeti ewuwo tuteekemu sente akuwangule tewaba onoolemerako tujja kulwanyisa tujja kuyamba owangule bwe bityo n'obusente obuyitiŋŋana mwamulaba Dr. Twayita Dr. Musawo simanyi oba musawo ebyaddala oba musawo muganda simanyi naye anfaananirawo omuntu eyasomako tatoyiza ganti wakibogwe ng'azunga bwayambuka amataama amadaala waggulu ne wansi kuba ye twamukwatira kituli tumugamba ezo sente miliyoni 4 zizeeyo gyewazijja n'agenda nazo n'agakumala nti bannanga ate abazimpa bagambye nti kakati twazikuwadda gw'omanyi kyozikozesa kitwamukwatira mu kituli naye n'abala gye bali bangi biyitingana mu kizimbe kino kati ababaka embeera eyo bwetyo yeereetera ababaka okweyisa engeri gye beeyisa okuteesa engeri gye bateesa ne batya ebintu ebimu si lwakuba nti bakiboggwe kubanga bweotunula paalamenti yaffe eno ejjudde ababaka abayigirivu bulungi tuli ababaka 557 naye ababaka 18 balina zi PhD doctorate ababaka 231 balina masters degree ababaka 251 balina bachelor's degree ababaka 37 balina diploma kati abalina 6 senior 6 certificate bali 16 bokka kubanga ekirizibwa mu mateeka kasito wange olina senior 6 wagisoma so kati abakoma ku senior 6 bali 16 bokka kati ogamba otya nti paalamenti yakiboggwe bana bokka be balina certificate ze basomera eyo bawa equivalent naye abasinga kibolabira ddala nti bayivu kati oyinza gamba nti abantu abo abayivu tebamanyi kyakukola basobola okwebuzaabuza nedda lwambeera eno eriwo tukula n'omulabaka asobola okusayininga ekiwandiiko nti kakati bano tubagobe kubanga babbi n'amaani yeebuzaabuza nti bampuddiisa tetumanyi kusoma kubanga ono omubaka kakasa alina waagwa either alina certificate ya senior 6 oba ki amanyi okusoma oluzungu weebuzaabuza otya nti nze bambuddiisa ninduza bamukangakanga ng'amaze okubisayininga obwesimbu kyekizibu kye tulina ate si paalamenti eno yokka mujjukira 25 abaka babawa obukadde 5 okuggyeko mu term limits baali bayigirivu paalamenti ewedde baweebwa obukadde 29 okuggyeko mu ku myaka so kati obuzibu bwe tulina obutali bwesimbu kubanga n'abaliwo nga basiniya bagamba nti bo babitegeera nnyo nakibabadde ebbanga lino gyonna ku nsonga ez'enkizo tobawulira naye ate bawulira nga bagamba nti obuzibu bwe tulina bannaffe abali wano abakiboggwe kati gwatali wakiboggwe lwaki osirika ku nsonga ez'enkizo ate oli mubaka wano kati nooza olaba obuzibu bwe buva fengaffe tujja sigala nga tukozesa platform gye tulina okubanja obuweereza n'okukozesa sente y'omusolo obulungi nga bwe kirina okubeera n'okuwa eddembe ly'abannansi ekitiibwa gavumenti ng'eyita mu bitongole byayo ebya security n'abalala boogera okutyobola eddembe ly'abannansi abantu bangi battiddwa bangi bawambiddwa bakyabuze John Bosco Kibalama Prime Minister Nabbanja yatugamba oyo twamukwata tukyamubanja n'abalala bangi bali mu zikooti maasho ku bisanga ebijweteke bangi bali mu makomera awatali musango beeyo baagala jijjawo police bondi era nga bwengambye olaba ba NRM nga bakuba mu ngalo tebamanyi nti namwe kijja batuukako ebintu bino tulina okubirwanyisa mu buli ngeri yonna nga bwe tukozesa platforms ze tulina okulwanyisa ebintu bino tukubira omulanga bannansi nabo okwegatta ku nsonga zino tuzirekerera just babaka obakulembeze fena zitukwatako era ffe tuli basanyufu twalaba abannansi abavubuka ne bavaayo ne bagamba nti naffe tugenda kwetaba mu kulwanyisa enguzi wano ku paalamenti n'awalala ne beekalakaasa naki kitwagala okulaba mu ggwanga lyaffe lino era tusaba Katonda atuyambe nti kuno omwaka gwe tuyingidde twongeremu bwongezi giya kuno omwaka ompe bwe tutandise tugenda gukozesa okwongera okulemerako ku nsonga zino ez'enkizo era zino emmeeza z'abannaffe tujja kwongera okuzinyeenya tetufaayo oba byakunywa byani ebiriko tujja zinyeenya paka mwebale nnyo. Okay, we can take some quick questions.
Okay, guys, let's have questions. Hold on, I'll start with this gentleman, then Asif and Isa.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Diano Olwenyi Teachers. I work with UBC. I have only two questions, Mr. Law. One is your predecessor, one of your predecessors, and even some voices have actually accused you of not being very vocal on the release of political prisoners in your first year of office. And they expected you to lead some sort of walkouts of parliament in demand for political release of political prisoners, like some of your predecessors were doing. Then the other question is, there has also been some voices from majorly the opposition, who have accused you of not being very collaborative. You remember the Richard Lumu bill, while in Gulu, which was introduced. One of them came up and said they should actually come up with a law that requires electing the leader of opposition. What does that tell you? Thank you.
There's a question that has been such about previous ekibuuzo ekisooka ekisanja kyo omwaka guno ogusoose
Wakitadde omwaka nyonyi.
success y'eriri mu ddwalizo okukozesebwa
Who was calling?
naye ate wabaddewo opposition ebeereddwa nga leader of opposition okutereeza ennyumba yo ebweruwa ebiri ekiyimirira emabegawo n'ekiyimirira ewa eya leader of opposition eyo konsani gyoli okwaka nga tugenda otunulira okutereeza opposition so that oluusi kufuna parliament oluusi kiyinza okukusa enteekateeka ez'enjawulo. Ensonga ey'okubiri, kabineti yo gy'okulembera nayo abatuula ku lukiiko lwa paalamenti okwenjawulo batono nnyo abasudde amaloboozi gano ekituufu lukiiko nga n'abamu tebawubera ababaka nga Mayanja, ababaka nga Honorable ababaka nga Honorable Namuka babadde b'amaanyi nnyo mu lukiiko naye abalala tetubalaba.
Abamu tubalaba ku mikolo gyammwe tetubalabayo eno. Kituufu.
twolekera akadde kutemu akweteekateeka okubeera nga mudda biri abiri mu gumu gwe mugamba nti abawangula amateeka ge yafugiramu oba gaabafugiramu gegamu biri abiri mu mukaaga amateeka ge musiimye okubeera nga mutambuliramu then ekikuzo ekyokubiri okwemulugunya kungi kwabaddewo nga kuziika omu ku bantu babadde okulembera omubaka Ssenyonyi byabaddewo nga ggwe oli musanyufu ku byo.
Tewali kibuuzo gye ntya bibuuze byonna
naye akizannyo ndoso kisitu okola ne muntu kifu ebibuuzo byange biri esookera ddala omwaka mulamba gumaze mu ofiisi namba y'abaka bakulekeddeko eringa entondola na 15 ekitu kyangisooka kiri kimu nti kituufu waliwo ekwatagana oba obutakwatagana buli mu opposition munda. Ekyokubiri buli wajja okwogerako naffe ku parliamentary commission oba okaaba bukaaba omanyi tebampita leti okaba kugendako maddi tuddeko ku bikolwa tuveewaawo mu kukaaba.
Which question should I ask dear Echo's security? Which question?
So kitegeeza tolina magezi tubulinde kumalayo gambe zitalina magezi gabumba tugende maaso
You're asking about the who? Honorable Mpuuga's portrait on the wall. What? That I can answer you myself. Because security.
Is it a sign of weakness or you are trying to correct something?
You said you're villager? Okay. My all questions are okay from modern people, teenagers, whoever citizens. Yes, yes.
You match here NTV.
Away from the thing that what are you doing? We are coming together. Again, different are going to do. Until you go to share. What do you expect to see? I'm from share. Kind of going to involve in terms of improving the citizens, from the table to check it, what is their function as
Gariwango, you're late. We're about to end the place.
During your time as leader of opposition, did you set out your goals? And if at all you achieve those goals, what is your strategy for the remaining term as leader of opposition? And then secondly, you've already seen the family of the late Team Hamad in those scenes.
Thank you guys for the likes. Keep liking, following, and sharing.
National Unity Platform, are you going to back the preferred choice of the family? Thank you.
ekyanga kiri wano abazayise etteeka ly'emwana yasuubiza okugamba nti bali kibagenda kukolawo kiki emuli mu kukolawo era kutuuseewo.
Okay.
I'm good, guys. Whoever is saying hi to me, I'm good. There's nothing up. It's me up. Yes, hi, Aban, and hi, his son. Let's get the responses.
Mr. on the first to ask. Political prisoners, and maybe I should have led Parliament our side to boycott again. By the time I became law, we had already returned to the house. We were moved out and moved back in. Of course, many people complained and said, now, you went back. Had you achieved what you had hoped to achieve? I think the leadership at the time maybe had another strategy. I don't know, but we were fully in the house. What's important is that there has not been and there should not be silence about this issue. Both on the floor of Parliament, as you have seen, but we said, let's take it even outside of Parliament. We decided to file a court case regarding these missing persons. Because we shall engage all avenues that we have available. So we were telling court, can the state account for these people? What happened? The High Court judge let us down, obviously, because the ruling was that we have not proved enough that these people are missing, which was problematic because we wondered how do you want us to prove? Because here are their family members, here are their national IDs, they had families, these people were present and so on. And those who saw when they were being abducted were present, and they have been missing for 4 or 5 years now. So we found it problematic that court was saying, adduce more evidence to show that these people are missing, as opposed to demanding that the state accounts for these people, because the state is responsible for everybody. Anyhow, that's a ruling we appealed. We are appealing because account for these people. So that's another avenue that we engaged. You normally see us every so often organizing prayers, going to these people's homes and so on, to meet them, to talk about these issues. Why? Because we don't want silence about this issue. Because that's what the state wants, that we forget about it and move on. We have said no. At every opportunity, we'll keep talking about them. We visit their families, hold prayers to continuously talk about this issue. Because the moment we cease to talk about it, it will die. That's what the state wants. And we shall not do so. Collaboration, the Lumubin, maybe I'll tie that in with, there was a question about, somebody asked that we're seeing you with a few people here. This is the shadow cabinet. Unlike Mr. Museveni, who has a cabinet of maybe 100 people, our shadow cabinet is smaller, yeah? And we are showing the nation that you can run government with a small team. Yeah, so this is shadow cabinet. We do not have to have every member of the opposition. Besides, we also want them busy in the sectoral committees, because actually even some shadow ministers, a few of them are not here, because they are following up on the budget framework paper. We have got to produce alternative ministerial policy statements, yeah. So this is part of the shadow cabinet, a small team which can be effective. You don't have to have everybody and their mother being part of the cabinet, as we see our colleagues on the other side. Ssenyonyi opposition, within opposition. You see, interestingly, when I took over leadership, I found an already fractured opposition. You know, really. I had taken long without being in a meeting with our colleagues from UPC, including the party leader, But some of the opposition caucus meetings that I've chaired, he has been in those meetings and he has guided us as a senior legislator and so on. And that was a good thing. Might have a few disagreements, but for me it warmed my heart to see that happen. It had not been happening previously. Yeah? Parties have got their own issues. You know, within FDC, you'll have our colleagues at Katonga, you'll have our colleagues at Najjanankumbi, but for me I say we shall work with everybody. Me or the Honorable Anna Adeke, who belongs to Najjanankumbi. We also have within our team people like Honorable Ssenyonyi, who is our Chairman Minister of Finance, belongs to when there are issues from, you know, the political party headquarters. Democratic Party, the leader of the Democratic Party works in government as the minister. His members are saying that's not our president. But I said I'll work with everybody. And that's what it should be. So I'm actually glad that there is some progress. Because when I see, you know, some of the opposition caucus meetings that I have chaired, I see faces that surprise me, that warm my heart, and I'm like, I'm glad this one is here. He or she doesn't agree with this one, but we are here to do the work that we ought to do. So yes, there are challenges, because like I said at the start, some people did not agree with my leadership, but that's okay. They say this Joel is a young man. What experience does he have? Because in the history of leaders of opposition, I think I'm the first to occupy this office in my first term as an MP. So some were saying, no, and there are others who have been around for long. The man is just, that time I was 37. The man is just 37, what is this? And there are other people who are older. People who have a lot more experience. But leadership is such. God chooses somebody and says, this is the leader. But I'm glad I continue to work with colleagues. So there are those who to date, either they felt it should have been them to have this position, so they're not happy that I'm the one occupying it, or they were unhappy that they were displaced and it is Joel in. But we continue to work nonetheless. Yes, some MPs not vocal in committees and so on. It's actually resemblant to what I said earlier on. Whether it be in committees or plenary, there are some voices you expect to speak that don't speak. There are senior people whom you will expect to condemn certain things, violence, corruption, and so on, but they are quiet because of the issues that I elaborated earlier on. So again, it's not incompetence, it's lack of integrity that we need to deal with. Isa asked about electoral laws and so on. There's been talk about electoral reforms. You know that we should be pushing for electoral reforms and that kind of thing. But let's be honest with each other. Really. The issue that Uganda is grappling with is not a legal issue. Our laws, even though our constitution has been tinkered with left, right, and center, our laws actually are some of the best world over. And I'm saying that as a lawyer who has challenges with our country, but I know for a fact that our laws, if followed to the letter, if implemented as should be, will not be having the problems that we have. So our problem is not the law, because now, if you say that our problem is the law, how is it that even the laws that are in place, because the laws, for example, talk about how people should be arrested, but people are just abducted, you're not following the law. So is the problem the law? People being abducted, people are granted bail and then rearrested thereafter. Do you say I resolve this by amending the law? Let's be serious. Let's also be political and wise, I would think, because you know sometimes people say they have too much wisdom. We need to begin to apply this wisdom, in my view, politically and otherwise, yeah? Our problem is not the law. The laws as we have them, if they are followed to the letter, there's no law that says you should rig an election. Which law? Which law says you abduct opponents of, of the government because they are wearing a t-shirt of an opponent of another candidate? Which law? Which law says now, because you see there are some polling stations, and even cover these things, up country, people get to the polling station and they tell them, here we have already voted for you for president, you only vote for MP. Which law says that? You saw the ballot stuffing that happened, critiquing, by soldiers and so on. Which law allows that? So we need to put our energies where we should. So the issue, realistically, is not so much the laws. It's not so much the constitution. It is the lack of constitutionalism, the spirit of the law. That's why, even when courts of law will issue an order, a directive, and it is disregarded. So are you going to amend another law? Because the law is already very clear. Court has issued an order about something. See how the court martial is behaving. So are you going to say, let's amend the law, let's bring a reform? No, we need to push for the respect of the rule of law as it is. So let's focus our energies where we should. Somebody asked about Honorable Ssenyonyi value. I need to avoid that question, but I know you might say, hey, why has he dodged it? He has feared it. It's okay. I will respond to it this way. Firstly, Honorable Ssenyonyi Muhammad was a member of parliament belonging to the National Unity Platform, and for that matter, the opposition in parliament. I was his leader. I have been his leader in parliament. Now, again, we need to apply wisdom. Yeah? When you're to give a decent send-off to a member of parliament, what is befitting to them, why do you put in place a one-man committee? Why? If really you want to respect, especially the wishes of the deceased person, bring the other stakeholders on board. As leader of the opposition, who was leading Honorable Ssenyonyi? I was not involved anywhere. Why? The party which he belonged to and loved very much. And he made certain declarations even before he died. How he wanted his party involved, his party president and so on. Why not adopt another leader, either from the secretariat or within the ranks of the NUP, to be part of the organizing committee? Why? His family was also left out. They were just being given orders. And that's why you saw they were also divided. At the burial, some were saying, let's go the other side. Others were saying, let's respect the wishes of Honorable Ssenyonyi as a family, let's stay here. So even the family was divided because you've not brought them on board. That's the mistake that was made. And it was deliberate, I think. So if you want to respect a person like Honorable Ssenyonyi, respect his family, respect his party which he loved, respect the side he belonged to in the opposition. But when you decide to put in place a one-man committee, disregarding all the other critical stakeholders, you have a problem. You have not applied wisdom, in my view. And that's why I'm saying it was deliberate to do that. Because you see, I normally see people who say they have so much wisdom that supersedes the wisdom of other people. I have seen some people who have said there are some politicians who need so many years to get to the wisdom that I have. Okay, you show the public that you are wise. Because any smart politician, really, any smart politician, you apply that wisdom. So I think that's the problem that happened from the word go. And that's the response that I have. I think it's Tweheyo who kept shouting, honorable. I'll not be dragged further in that issue. Honorable Ali, please withdraw. Ali, withdraw. Oh, not Tweheyo, sorry. Jimmy. Yeah, so that's my response to that issue. You might not be happy with that response. You also go and hold a press conference after here. Have you heard him? I'm going to finish mine in a few minutes.
Speaking about Mpuuga's speak, all those that have served in the leaders of the opposition office, their pics are portrayed here, so it can't be removed.
That they are endorsing somebody, and they are saying NUP should give the flag of the party to that person.
So all their portraits are in
as a party, we are going to follow our processes.
Whoever becomes
the same processes we followed,
their portraits
eventually get Honorable Ssenyonyi to be a flag bearer.
It can't be
removed.
However much they also don't like it there, maybe. So we can't just remove it there. Okay? Hope I've answered
why
that
call us
question.
to tell us what you have done? I called you here so that we can interact. Yeah, so that we can interact. That's why you're asking the questions that you're asking me. And it's good you considered and said, but we have seen the things you have been doing. Why are you calling us to tell us about them? There's no harm in us interacting on this anniversary and giving some kind of accountability about what we have been up to. It's important to keep doing that as and when we can.
Following.
Juma, issue of political prisoners and so on and so forth. The other strategy that we have employed, as opposed, in addition to using all the avenues we have, going to court, even though we know that there are challenges in court, say, okay, Let's use that avenue there. Let's keep engaging the families, bring attention to this issue and so on. We have been calling on religious leaders to come on board. Shortly after I got into office, you saw we held a meeting with the Interreligious Council of Uganda, led by Archbishop Dr. Kazimba Mugalu and the others. You know, and we were saying, please, we want to hear your voices on this issue as religious leaders. It's important. And I'm glad that many of them nowadays, they keep speaking about it. You see it. You see it on Sunday, in cathedrals, in churches. You see it on Fridays, in mosques. That's also an important element. Because when it is just us politicians speaking about these issues, you kept hearing now somewhere dismissing and saying, no, you guys took them in Canada, you took them abroad. Are you going to tell the same thing to a religious leader or a cultural leader? So we are glad that all those voices, as we kept engaging them, they are happy with their involvement. Namayo asked, did you set out goals? I thought that's where I started. I told about our three key priority areas, and I told you how far we have gone regarding those. Toheyo asked about the coffee bill and all the others that were passed in a problematic manner. We have told the coffee farmers, number one, grow more coffee. If it was the ploy of government to discourage you from growing more coffee, please don't fall for it. This government is going to outlive the coffee that you grow. And so we have said, as coffee farmers, let's get on board. Voice those concerns. The election is around the corner. Use your ballot as a stick against this government, which wants to take everything away from you. Use that voice as well. As MPs, we have got a part to play. Yes, we did, and we shall continuously do so. You saw what happened in the House. Our colleagues being roughed up, lights switched off. You, the media, you were locked up. You were prisoners and that kind of thing. So as we keep doing our part, we are telling the people out there, the 12.5 million Ugandans who are involved in the coffee value chain, speak out with your vote as well. Yes, because it's important. Don't allow for things to be taken away from you as if you're voiceless. Olwen yabuziza, yes, bannaffe abawambibwa abali makomera era agambye nti lwaki twafulumya ababaka wenda twalira obukulembeze buno palamenti twali twagiddamu dda patu waliwo abaali beebuuza naye kakati twafuluma ate nitumala netuddayo nga tetupulangize bulungi tugenda kikwasaganya tutya naki naye twali twaddayo dda so nga palamenti egenda mu maaso ffe ne tugamba nti weewaawo tujja sigala nga twogera ku nsonga eno ku fulo ya palamenti nga buze muwulira naye ne tugamba netwagala ekomaawo netugenda ne mu kooti twatwala omusango mu kooti ku lwa famiri z'abannaffe bano nga tugamba twagala kooti eteeka akazito ku gavumenti ewe embalirire y'abantu bano ewe accountability abantu bano gavumenti ebavunanyizibwako baluwa of course ekyafika enviri ku mutwe kooti yagamba nti kaakati abantu bano temutuwadde bujulizi bumala nti okulaga nti abantu bano babuzibwawo netugamba mulamuzi ono abadde atya tukuleetedde famire zaabwe zizino abaana baabwe tutyo kyali kikyamu era tulongooseemukko ekyogaa nti otaddewo one man committee ngati waliwo ba stakeholders abalala Ssenyonyi abazaayogerako abamanyikiddwa bayagala ennyo abadde bamukulembera mu palamenti n'awalala n'okusamba emabega ebbali era kyotulaba abantu bagamba nedda kino tujja kikkiriza embeera eyo lyali baddewo singa ffenna nga ba stakeholders twabeera ku mmeeza Ssenyonyi etuwa ekitiibwa ekimutiibula obulungi weewaawo baagana okumuwa ekitiibwa kye nga mulamu nga bwe mwalaba bamuyolanga omubbi w'enkoko bamufulumya bamutadde mukomera bamumye ebbeeyo n'agamba nange mulamuzi nyamba ndi mulwadde gavumenti doctors ne basayininga epapulo omuntu ono mumute afuna obujjanjabi mulamuzi n'agana okumuwa bbeeyo obamuwa bbeeyo yali afuluma kiko prison ne baddamu ne bamuyoola bamutyoboola mu bulamu bwe ne mukufa ne basalawo bamutyoboole n'otawa kitiibwa bantu be bakulembeze banne bazaatambula nabo kyali kikyamu bwe buswavu obwaliwo waliwo abuuziza nti famire ya Honorable Ssenyonyi era egambye nti bo balina omuntu gwe baagala aweebwe kaadi ya NUP ffe ng'ekibiina kuba nze ekyogere tulina emitendera gye tuyitamu omuntu okufuuka flag bearer waffe era ne Honorable Ssenyonyi emitendera gye gimu gye yayitamu tetujja okugoberera okufuna anadda mu bigere bya Honorable Ssenyonyi. waliwo abuuziza nti lwaki otuyise juza okola ne banno tuze tubiraba lwaki otuyise okubitubuulira kirimu sitaani tugende tuwayamuko ku nsonga zino netubabuulira kubanga kati tuwezesa omwaka tuliga abaserebretinga birthday kakati lwaki mutulemesa okuserebretinga birthday netubajjukiza omanye muli bakujjukiza mmwe kyetuliko okubajjukiza tuma yabuuziza ku yesu political prisoners ne ba stakeholders abalanga bwengambye nti yesu olugenda mu kooti naki naye twagamba ne ba stakeholders abalala nabo katubwegatteko twagenda soninga nagayingira mu ofiisi ne bannange netusinkana nga religious council netuwayamuko ne bakulembeze bannaffe mu ddiini tubasaba namwe mugere ku nsonga zino kubanga ffe bannabyabufuzi bwe tutogera kubagamba byabufuzi just era njagala kwebaza bannaddiini abamu kubawulira mu ekereziya mu makanisa mu mizikiti nga boogera ku fugabi nga boogera ku bulyake nga boogera ku kulugunya abantu abaawambibwa tubeebaza kiba kyanjawulo nnyo ng'amaloboozi gaabwe geegatiddwa ku gaffe yes namba yabuuziza gooliza betwasetinga nakyogeddeko kyetwatandika nga tukola finally ensonga ya coffee bill era nga amateeka amalala kyenjagala okukubiriza omulanga bannansi nti tubengeri nti tubigenda maaso era kizi kibeerawo nga mubalaba wetwogera ku nsonga ezimu nga bavayo nga beekalakaasa naki abantu abeetaba mu nsonga ez'emmwanyi bali obukadde obusoba mu 12 bannayuganda tubagamba nti luno olutalo lwaffe nammwe okusingira ddala lwammwe ffenna twetabe mu nsonga zino akalulu kasembedde abababbako ebyammwe mubagobe kubanga bajja kukozesa olukujjukujju bakozese ssente bakozesa okutiisatiisa mwalaba bajjako amataala nga tuteesa ku nsonga eno bannamawulire ne babagoba abayaayo SFC ne bayingira ne batandika okuba ababaka nakinaki babikozesa byonna naye mulina amaanyi nga bannansi mugakozese okulaba nti mwerwanako mwebala nnyo basebo ne banyabo
That comes to the end of the presser. Those were asking, Nga, Luganda.